This is the 19th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guide Batteries, X-Zone Lures, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, Spro, Gamakatsu, Big Bite Baits, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Back in studio for the week, I made a questionable life decision. I was on Travis Manson's Smallmouth Crush live stream until about 1 a.m. last night, which you're always on the verge of losing your career when you jump on that show that late, especially with Brian the Carpenter, JP, and the cast of characters. So really excited about today's show. We have multiple guests for today's show, and if there's one thing I've learned in the 15 years of hosting and then co-hosting for 13 years is you never keep Hall of Famers waiting.
What's
up, Mike Iaconelli?
Good morning.
All right, now we can't bring Mike Iaconelli in until we talk about the guy that's on the top of the screen, which is none other than the fearless leader, Mark Jeffries, making his second appearance on BTL. Mark, congratulations on SNU's third place men's bowling. I do have a beef to pick with you. The BTL logo, which the BTL fans, listeners, and myself to officially sponsor the SNU bowling program. I see a lot of sponsors up on the website. I have yet to see BTL.
It's going on there today.
Now I did.
Man, I've been busy.
I noticed that at 11. At 11 last night, I noticed that on Travis's channel, and Travis made a good point. He goes, "What would Mark do if his logo was supposed to be on your website?" And I said, "Well, he would call 19 times repeatedly at 11 o'clock at night until you answered and then demand an explanation."
Yeah, there is no excuse, man. I'm sorry. I'll get it done today.
Hey, here's what I want to say real quick. You're looking at a future Hall of Famer right there, Mark. You deserve to be in there. You've changed the sport. I want to say this real quick. You should be there. Bass fishing as we know it today, the coverage, the podcast, this stuff, it's all because of you. So you're a future Hall of Famer in the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame too.
Thanks, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know if it deserves that high of praise from you and everybody else, but no, man, it was cool to be at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I got to see a lot of people I haven't seen for at least a couple of years, but it was a very cool night for you. It was you look good in a blue blazer, man.
Thank you. You
looked really good, and the suit that went along with, the pants, the slacks, custom made from head to toe, man. You were styling and profiling.
That was fun. Let me tell you, man, one of the coolest things was that I'm sort of old school ghetto Jersey. You don't, you just go to regular place and get a suit off the shelf. That was the first time, 51 years, it took me to get a custom suit. Let me tell you, if you're watching this, if you're a man, if you're a fashionable man, you like dressing up every once in a while, get a custom tailored suit. It's an amazing experience. It was so fun doing that. That whole process was fun.
What was the guy's name that made it for you?
Dan the Suit Man. Dan the Suit Man. No, but here's the thing. Like, that's a craft like anything else, and it's like a good angler, like a good bowler, like a good podcast host, like Matt. You have to have a skill at doing that. And it was, it's amazing. It's like artwork, and you get to wear it. That's kind of cool, man. It was a cool process.
All right, Matt, are you going to set this up, or do I need to set it up? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just letting you guys go. I knew this would go as planned. I knew I was totally screwed when I clicked it and both of you popped up. I thought it would just be one. So then I was like, well, I've lost total control over this. So here's
great. When it just gets away from you. I've had it happen. Like early on, it happened a lot. I don't know if you know this, and it's happening right now because I want to tell the story. In the history of Ike Live, one of our first shows. I'm just going to straight up throw him under the bus because he's a good dude. And he knows I'm saying this in all the nice way. One of our first guests was Randy Howe. And bro, when I tell you we clicked on his image, like, I don't think we said anything for like 45, 50 minutes. It just went on. Like, it was like the Randy Howe show, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it can get away from you. It was bad, Matt.
All right, so we're going to set the scene. Mark has a recruit coming in from Hawaii today.
That's big time, Mike.
Oh, wow.
Big time.
Matty Wong?
No, this dude is a difference maker. He really is, man. He is an absolute superstar in the world of high school bowling. And, man, he made the commitment. Him and his mom, I don't know, it's like a 12-hour flight with the time difference and all kinds of other things. And, yeah, they're making the campus tour, and then they're going to go to practice this afternoon. So it's a big day for the program.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
congrats.
Yeah.
Cool.
This show reminds me of my 30s. You're right, Ike. They just got away from me. So, okay, we're going to set the stage. That's what Mark has to do. So he's on for a very specific reason. And then I know that you're a busy guy, but I want to talk Hall of Fame. Because I'm on the board for the Hall of Fame. I want to talk some of the stuff you saw, some of the things you think, and then I want to talk Susquehanna River smallmouth. You had a chance. You still had a chance to get up on the classic stage, which you've done before, like that, and you came very close this time. So I want to talk about that and the kayak game. But herein lies the problem. So Mark Jeffries at the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame that was a week and a half ago brought his lovely wife Carolyn as a guest of you.
Yes.
And originally the plan was, and listen, I've tried to get to the bottom. This was just a good old fashioned miscommunication, I believe.
It may have been.
The plan was to have Mike be introduced by Mark. So Mark was going to get up and introduce Ike. Now I know for a fact that Mark put a lot of time, work, and effort, and this was a big deal.
Yeah. It was a big deal for us. Let me tell you, when we first received that communication that, you know, we had to pick somebody, dude, it was pretty instantaneous in my mind who I wanted to do it. Like, you know, I looked at Beck looked at me. I'm like, Mark needs to do this.
Why?
Yeah. Because, you know, Mark was there from the very beginning for me, from the standpoint of a media and a peer and guidance and a friend. And that what was important, you know, to have that liaison into this world. I mean, shit, I remember being at, I think it was the Chicago Classic early on. And, you know, like I'm still the outsider at that point, you know, and nobody really wants to talk to you. And, you know, you're almost, you know, shunned just because you're an oddball. But Mark didn't mind. He wanted to talk to me. And that was such a cool thing. But, you know, it's just a lot of years of being a friend and being someone to lean on. And, you know, just a lot of the business decisions that Becky and I have made, you know, we sort of run stuff past Mark, even outside of Ike Live. So it was a pretty instant decision. And when the night got away like that, it sort of went a different direction.
Scheduling snafu.
Yeah, honestly, it was the most amazing experience of my whole life. It's a dream come true. It was just amazing, but it was the only disappointment that night of the Hall of Fame for me. Like even having my name spelt wrong on the plaque.
I did notice that as well.
And
here's the problem.
Wasn't even a disappointment.
They didn't even misspell Iaconelli. They misspelled Michael.
They misspelled Michael. That wasn't even a disappointment because I'm like, people misspell my name every day. It doesn't matter. But you know, like when they called, you know, like Mercer did a little thing and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm in my mind, I'm like, Mercer's going to introduce Mark. And then I still had like 10 minutes. I still had 8 minutes or something in my mind. And I didn't even get up. Like, I don't know if you go back and look at the video, but like Dave calls me and I'm just kind of like, and he had to say it again. Like, and then I didn't know what to do because I still wanted Mark to come up, but I'm like in my mind. So now there's all this shit. I'm already nervous. And there's all this stuff going through my mind. I'm like, all right, should I introduce Mark to reintroduce me? I'm like, nah,
I'm glad you didn't do that.
That would have been awkward city.
Yeah. So it was the only disappointment of the night. But Mark, it doesn't change the way I feel about you.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate you being there. Having you and your wife there was super amazing and made the night very special for us. And thank you. Thank you for being there.
Well, thanks for the invite. It was a very, very cool night. It was nice because so many people, family, friends, that came to watch the ceremony and watch you get that award. It was an amazing evening, and it was really neat to watch some of the interaction that you had with some of the previous Hall of Famers and the mutual respect that existed between you and the guys that have been doing this forever. Yeah. So it was very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I figured that I gotta do something to remedy this, to right this situation, and I wasn't sure what it was. So I talked to Becky, who is not only your wife but also a fantastic manager and what is that called? The people who call it during crisis situation handlers. What are those called? Crisis management.
Crisis manager, PR specialist.
PR specialist, Momager.
Yeah.
And I was like, here's what I want to do. I want to get Ike on the show to talk about it because, like I said, the night was a 9.9 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
And that is all put together by the volunteers of the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. We raised almost $200,000 through the silent auction. Ike, we'll talk about the speech. You got in a lot of subtle jabs in there that I think went over some people's head. Other people, like I had Todd Seisner was sitting next to me, and a couple times he looked at me and whispered, he goes, "Did I just take another shot?" And I was like, yeah, I think so. But I wanted to I want to give the floor to Mark, and I want Mark in the most unawkward way possible to actually, I feel like everyone kind of owes it to hear what he had to say in his introduction speech, including you, because you have no idea what he was going to say.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pass the floor to Mark, and then Mark is going to introduce you for the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame ceremony. Sound good?
Okay. I like it.
All right. So I actually had a few pages that I was going to just kind of refer to during the introduction, but it was only going to be a couple of minutes. I mean, I was going to really condense it down because it was taking a little while to get through everything. And then Johnny did his deal, and the night was going long, so I'd already made the decision while I was sitting there. All right, I'm gonna cut this down. Now having this, we may go a little bit longer because now I have the opportunity to say a lot of things that we just didn't have time to do. But anyway, I was gonna start things off by saying this, Mike, and when you take fishing, and in my career when I was involved in doing what I did a lot of comparisons to other sports. That was kind of my thing. Matt and I would get into discussions, and I just felt it was a cool comparison to try and compare fishing to other sports. And that's kind of how I was going to kick it off by saying in other sports, and even in bass fishing, the relationship that the players or the anglers have with the media, it can really go three ways. Right? It's what I call, the first way is standard tolerance. In other words, the media, the players, they come in, they do their business, they go on down the road. The second route is they don't like each other. They can't stand each other. They tolerate it. They may get one-word responses, even when part of the media, they ask open-ended questions, they're still giving one-word responses, and they just don't like each other. And then very, very rarely does it occur where a member of the media actually develops a friendship with either a player or an angler. And man, we just hit it off in the beginning. I was green. You were extremely young, and your career was just starting to getting going. And I had no fear because I remember being out there covering the Bassmaster Classics before I went out on the Elite Series. And I remember the first time that I met you, but it was after I saw this incredible show on TNN with what you did at the Red River in the Federation.
Yeah.
And Bob Cobb and his voice and the way that he described everything that was taking place. And dude, you were fishing in the freaking jungle on the Red River with a spinning rod and a little bitty trick worm. I'm like, he's in the most gnarly looking stuff. And you're just throwing this, kind of finesse thing. And you found a couple fish in this area. And then the next thing I know, man, you are styling and profiling in the vest with all the patches. And dude, everybody wanted a vest. I wanted a vest so bad because of what I saw in that show. And then the first really face-to-face encounter that we ever had was at the 99 Bassmaster Classic, of which a lot of people don't remember, but you finished in 6th in that event.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Oh, look at the vest.
There's the vest.
Look at that.
Jeez Louise.
Now, do you still have the vest, Mike?
Yes. Yeah. So, I've said this before, but my mom, there's my ex-wife.
God, sorry.
That's all right. Becky's getting a shower.
Come on, I had no clue. Okay.
That's the first time she was ever on anything fishing. So that's great. Like, I'm so
look at how red I am now. I'm sorry.
Don't be red. No, it's fine. It's no problem. Now I forgot what I was even saying.
Mark was giving his speech. I just was trying to put a little all I did was find it and throw it up so it made make Mark's speech look better. That's all I was trying to do. I promise.
No, that's okay. So I do have the vests because my mom, I love my mom. She's the most wonderful woman, but she's a hoarder. And she has kept everything of mine from when I was a baby to now, like literally everything. Like I had to go there one day and go through some of the stuff. Be like, Mom, I don't need my hockey trophies from the 8th grade anymore. Like, why do you still have my hockey trophies? I do not need these anymore. But yes, still have the vest. I think there were a few years of that. I would call it the very beginning of me fishing as a quote unquote semi-pro to, maybe like the first year touring. It was vest central, Yeah.
All right. Back to Mark's speech. I apologize.
All right, everybody wanted the vest though. You went on, you finished 6th in the 99 Classic, of which that was the classic that Davey Height went on to win. And it was really cool. Your Federation win, though, I want to go back real quick. It was 10 ounces. And the guy that you beat, do you remember who you beat?
Bruce Lynch.
He just put it up there.
Bruce Lynch. Yeah. I remember, from Delaware. Yeah. Yeah. Really good angler up here in the Northeast. Yep.
Yeah. So that was kind of the start. And then obviously we go on to the 2003 Bassmaster Classic where you beat Gary Klein by almost 2 pounds. But I remember specifically an encounter that we had during Media Day. And that was really a very challenging period in your life. And it's been well documented. You've talked about it on your show. You've talked about it a little bit in interviews and stuff. And you gave me a piece of advice that I ran with during that Media Day interview. And you told me, you go, dude, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be intimidated by these guys. They just catch fish. That's all we do. He goes, I'm impressed that you're out here trying to be that beat writer. And that's what I did, man. I ran with it. From that day that you and I talked at Media Day in 2003, I was never really intimidated to ask questions. And for those people that may not know, there was a guy out there, Tim Tucker, who's no longer with us. Tim, he wasn't afraid to ask anything. I mean, he would ask. It didn't matter if it was a press conference, one-on-one, in a group. It didn't matter who was standing around. But, dude, I'm telling you, that Media Day that was at the Bassmaster Classic in 2003, that really kind of got me going to a level of not being intimidated. Wow. And you caused that.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. From there, do you remember your very first BASS event? Not Federation event, but When you reflect back, do you remember at all?
I mean, I remember all of them. I remember the little ones too. So,
This was an Eastern Invitational.
Eastern Invitational. Yeah, I remember, my first one, let me see. My first Eastern Invitational I fished when I had a boat or when I was, I remember fishing one at like Kerr Reservoir was one of my first ones, Bugs Island. I remember ones at Hartwell. Like you
finished in this one, Ike, you finished 236th.
Oh yeah, I bombed a lot of them. I bombed a ton of them. I remember having some bombs at Okeechobee. Like early on, it was not pretty. Like nothing came easy ever. It was always a lot of work.
The first one, guess who finished second in that event? Gerald Swindle in 1996, and then David Ashcraft. Yeah, David Ashcraft, who a lot of people don't know, man. That dude was a stick back then. He went on to win.
Wow.
But 236. In 1997, that's when you got your first check as a professional. You finished 28th. You got $2,800. And guess who finished fourth? Mark Zona.
Whoa. Jeez Louise.
That was on the St. Lawrence River.
Wow.
So probably the best finish that Zona ever had.
I drew at that one I bombed, that Invitational at Hartwell. I remember I got one of the most amazing draws ever. And a lot of you watching and listening to this probably don't even know the name, but I drew Charlie Campbell.
Oh, wow.
I think it was the first day of that tournament, and got to watch him catch him with the topwater. Of course, it was such a cool moment. So, but I remember the learning experiences, as a co-angler, and then after I finally won a boat and started fishing some as a boater, the learning experiences you can't beat. For the average guys that are just regular dudes, that's what you got to do. You got to go take your licks, and you got to go put the time in. There are a few of the naturals, and you're getting to see them come up right now through the opens and stuff. And, they're just going to catch them no matter what. But I was never that. You just put your work in and time, and you take your licks, and you just keep working, and eventually you'll have some success,
All right. Your first pro win was September 1999, the Vermont Top 150. Lake Champlain, you beat Rick Clunn by 2 pounds. You won over $100,000. And man, I'm curious, did Rick say anything to you during that event after you won?
Not after that event per se, but over the years, we've had a lot of conversations about that tournament. In fact, it's so neat that you brought this up. I got to camp next to him at Lake Champlain this year. He had the very next campsite next to Becky and I. And he brought that up. And it was funny. He brought it up, and my son Vegas was there. We were just doing tackle, and he came over to the boat, and we started talking about that. And, I think Rick's a big believer in that you control your own destiny. He's got this mantra, like, you make it happen. You control your own destiny. But I was trying to say to him at this conversation, like, yeah, there's some of that, but man, that was meant to be. Like I remembered he was fishing around an old burnout bridge, had zebra mussels all over it. And I said, how many fish did you break off that last day of the tournament? He's like, I broke off like 30. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, do you remember what happened to me? I said, I fished till 11 o'clock and didn't have a keeper the last day. All my largemouth bit the bullet. They were all shallow largemouth. The water temperature dropped like 10 degrees after this big storm came through. I'm like, I went to a place. I had one bite in practice. I had a smallmouth bite. I caught a fish. And as I'm reeling it in, this is my first fish of the day at 11 o'clock. It's a 3-something pound smallmouth. As I'm reeling it in, there's this weird, I looked at it and I thought, what the heck is that? It reminded me of this horror movie called Creepshow that I watched back in the day. And it was this black blob that was in the water that would suck people under that were swimming. If you remember, you can go back and look at this scene from the Creepshow. So I'm reeling this fish and I look behind it and there's a black blob. And dude, it's literally like the size of a bass boat, maybe bigger. can't figure out what it is. And as I got it right next to the boat before I netted it, I realized that it's like a couple hundred smallmouths, all 2 to 4 pounds, following this fish I have hooked. Like, you know, like you're in control of your own destiny, but when it's meant to be, it's meant to be, you know. And that one, it's like getting struck by lightning. You know, I couldn't escape it. It was destiny, and it needed to happen because, Matt, you know, sitting there, when you're in that beginning stage, dude, it's rough. Every dollar counts. Every media exposure counts. And, you know, being a freshman on tour and having that happen, that was critical. It had to happen, you know, it had to.
Very cool. All right. And then obviously the well-documented 2003 Classic win on the Delta. But here's something that a lot of people may not realize. Dude, you were struggling. I mean, it was a brutal, brutal season. You were going through all kinds of challenges and adversity. You only had 2 checks that year up to the Classic. You had multiple sub 100 finishes. And coming into the Classic, the last event, you finished 85th at Santee Cooper. And I remember sitting down at the table with you once again during the media event, and you looked at me and you said, dude, I just can't do anything right now. You were down. It was really in the early years of your career and the friendship that we were starting to develop. I had never seen you that down when it came to just trying to make it in this professional fishing world. It was a very memorable, but at the same time, man, if people really knew how much adversity that you were going through prior to that Classic. And when you said that to me and we talked a little bit about it, I told you something and I said, dude, I said, learn from now. And that's probably one of the dumbest statements I've ever made. But when you look back at why I said that, and then you went on to win the Classic, it's very, very memorable. And it will always stay with me, man, because I know what you were going through during that time of your life. And to see everything that happened from that point forward after that win was freaking awesome.
Wow. Yeah, it was an amazing time. That's another one that you just look back on and it changed your life. It changed the direction of your life. And yeah, it was a struggle, man. And it's funny you said that because I don't remember saying all that, but I remember the feelings that I had. And it wasn't just not doing well in tournaments. You know, it was my personal life was in the shitter. You know, it was a lot. You know, I knew I was losing sponsors and, you know, there was a lot. I had pretty much, I said this before, but I had made up in my mind at that point that was my last tournament. You know, I was out. I was going to go back to school. I submitted the paperwork to go back to Rowan. Like, honestly. And just like that, like 3 days, boom, everything changes. So yeah, crazy time.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to 2006. It was very memorable for me. That was your Angler of the Year title on the Elite Series. But man, there were a couple of things. You got your first elite win on, what was it? Lake Gunnersville. And you had the gray and red flame jersey. It was just epic. And I remember being on the water for that Gunnersville event, and you were trying to catch a fry garter with a French fry, and then you went freaking nuts after you caught it, and were running around. Fry garter on a fry, fry garter on a fry. It was hilarious. And once again, it was with the spinning rod and reel. And you ended up that fish was totally the difference maker. You had a dead fish penalty. You needed 15-2. You got 15-3. And the other thing that you did in that event was you took the fish in the crowd. I don't know if you remember that. You went nuts, dude.
Yeah. That was a big one. That year was rough. I had the roughest start of that year, but I sort of refocused my fishing and, man, just to win, you know, it's so hard to win, but winning there was special. And, you know, that wasn't a pretty win. I was actually, few of the fry garters I caught, I bit down the French fry to 2 inches. I bit it down. So it was literally just the size of the 2-aught hook. they were that tricky. But man, what a great win. And that whole season was, I think I fished better in 2006 than I've ever fished in my whole entire life. And, you know, you always wish you could harness that and put it in a bottle, you know, but it has to happen like that to win Angler of the Year. And that was an 11 tournament season that year.
Yeah.
So it was a very memorable year for sure.
Cool stuff. And, you know, Matt, obviously when Matt came on board, you know, I kind of had this tagline, it's all about being there. And that was kind of my, philosophy that I followed, that was the difference maker. And that really took how I wanted to cover professional fishing to that next level. And one of the most memorable things I can remember it vividly. I have a picture in my studio back home because I was the only dude there. And that's when you won Angler of the Year that year. And you went swimming. I was the only boat on the water when you dived in the water to grab your line. And I just kind of looked around at my boat drive and I go, I can't believe he just did that. And I had the picture, and there were no other still photos. No. Obviously there was video because you had a camera with you.
Yeah.
But that is one of the best pictures. It's blown up in my studio. But one of the things that was really cool is everybody wanted to talk to you after that event because obviously you won Angler of the Year. And dude, you talked to a zillion people, and I remember waiting 3 hours outside your little cabin or whatever it was, and Dynamic had all this stuff going on with you, and you were absolutely just wore out, but you hung around to talk to me. And that meant so much to me, even though I had to wait, because I mean, I was all about respecting the entities that really needed to get stuff done after that moment. But still, that was part of the reason that I was out there with you. But the friendship and the mutual respect that we had for each other for what we were doing, dude, that meant so much that and then you end up spending like 30 minutes talking to me and you were absolutely wiped. But a very, very vivid memory that will be with me forever when you dove in the water like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember. It was cold. I'm still kind of shocked by the cold all these years later. Cold water.
All right. There was a couple of things, obviously, I was going to mention. One, the 20 Feet Deep documentary. That was my first adventure into doing the documentary. And I knew it was going to be special. And I'm not trying to push it because it's been out there for years. But I'm telling you, folks, if you really want to see the other side of Ike, you need to watch the 20 Feet Deep documentary, because the emotions and just the feeling of what you are truly like, Mike, really came out in a lot of the stuff that we did during the filming of that documentary. I mean, I opened up with you working in the garden with Stella, digging up dirt, you know, planting this stuff, giving her advice on how you got to move the soil and all that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was so cool was to sit on the steps on the shore of the Delaware River where you won that tournament, and you told me that was the first time that you had been back there. Yeah. And man, there was about 60 seconds that you just sat there and reflected and didn't say a word. Yeah. And I could feel that moment when I was putting that documentary together during that time. And man, it showed me what you're truly about, Mike.
Yeah, that was such a cool experience. Thank you for doing that series. And thank you for doing it with me. It was so amazing because, you know, in fishing, nothing like that had really been done. You know, most of the time we do stuff, it's, you know, how do you fish that bait? And, you know, what's the, you know, what color do you go to? And to be able to look back on stuff with you like that over those couple days was so nice. And it was so freeing. And yeah, I remember everything we did. And that moment of going back to the Delaware with you, really, that place has a lot of meaning for me because it brings everything full circle. You know, not just the win there that year, but where I learned how to fish, and where my uncle and my grandfather first took me fishing. And that brings a lot of memories back. And it's really the reason all this has happened, so to be able to sit there with you all those years later and reflect back on that, it's emotional. It's hard to get me to cry, but it definitely brings you to tears thinking about it, and makes all the hard work and makes all the failure and disappointment and makes all that worth it, So it was that was one of the coolest pieces I've ever done. I'm so glad I'd get to do it with you, Mark.
Yeah, me too. And then obviously the phone call that I made to you, hey man, I think you would do a great job at this Ike Live thing. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then 6 months went by, and then all of a sudden I get this phone call from you and Becky. Hey man, we want to look into doing this Ike Live thing. And here we are, 10, 11 years later, and you're still doing it.
That's crazy. Yeah. What a cool thing. I've told us before on the show, but man, we were just so skeptical, besides your show, nobody was doing it really, and I just didn't know enough about it. And you kept hitting us about it, and months went past. Usually me and Becky are pretty quick with stuff.
Yeah.
But that one we just sat on. We finally Mark's right. We got to try this. This is a way to reach new people. We got to try this. And man, so thankful that you sent us in that direction. Cause not that it's not been a lot of work. Matt, this is a lot of work too. This is like fishing a derb. It's the same amount of work. It takes a lot of work, but you look back on it and it was fun, and it is fun, and the memories and the friendships and the interviews, and I can just close my eyes and think about some of the funniest stuff that's ever happened in my life. And the other thing, and I'll mention this real quick, is that you created something that gave me a chance to reconnect with my friends. And I can never repay that, Mark. That was so special that I got to spend a lot of extra time the last 10 years with guys that are my friends that, life gets in the way, and you lose contact with family and friends because life gets in the way. And it gave me a reason to hang out with my buddies. And that was such a blessing. And thank you for doing that, man.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it was cool. All right. And then I actually brought this with me. I was going to show it, and it was going to be part of the introduction, but you gave me something, and it was after you won the Classic in 2003, and you gave me something. I don't know how many still exist. I have 2 of them. One has been open. The other one is still sealed right there. All right. That is the actual cassette, still in the wrapper.
Cassette.
And it was
Fossil.
Mike Iaconelli's blueprint on professional bass fishing, how to turn pro in 5 years or less. All right.
Yes.
But this is what cracks me up, man. The side A on the cassette tape was part 1, fishing, a stair-step process, the success equation.
Success equation. I
All
remember
right.
that.
Learning to fish new water and fishing the moment.
Yeah.
Right? That was on the A side. Part 2 was the business side, working in the industry, education, attracting sponsorships, and something you were really good at, keeping your sponsors.
Keeping your sponsors, yes.
But look at that. All right.
Wow.
Do you have any of these still?
We do. We have Beck's in the background. She just walked in the office. She said yes. We probably have 1,000 of them somewhere up in the barn.
Really?
I don't know. Do we have 1,000? No, we have a couple. Beck said we do have a few. Man, that's such a cool piece of memorabilia. That is a fossil. It's a dinosaur because it's on a cassette. But man, it was so cool to be able to do something like that and talk about what I've been through, and hopefully try to help some people, and I hope it helped. Definitely stuff that was on that cassette are things that we used and I used to, try to get to the next level. But I remember giving you that, and that's cool that you have it all these years later, you know?
Yeah. Still, well, I have two. You gave me two. One I listened to, the other one I kept in the wrapper. And this is like in my office here. It's sitting right over there, and it will be with me
Awesome.
as long as I still exist.
So awesome.
But no, man, that is super cool. The way I was going to wrap it up was this, Mike. There's three words that I was going to describe really what you're about. And it's performance, people, and passion. And what you've done, not just for the sport, but everything outside of the world of fishing that you've done for kids and your foundation, but how you have raised awareness in so many things. You've entertained us, you've engaged us, and obviously you've educated us in the world of fishing. And I know that a lot of people are in this game still today because of what you did in your early years. I was going to wrap up by saying what you always say, which is fish the moment, Ike, but enjoy the moment now.
Yeah.
And you did. And
Wow.
It was truly just incredible to be there with you and your family and Becky. And even though I missed out, I want to thank Matt for doing this because it wasn't going to be that long, obviously, but to be able.
Well, see, I'm almost glad, not that I'm glad it worked like this, but Matt, thank you for setting this up. Mark, thank you for doing this, because this was a more personalized version. I got to look you straight in the eye and hear this from you, hear the long version. And it makes it just all very, very special. So thank you. Thank you. It was awesome.
There were very few guys in my, 20 whatever years covering this game and being out there with you guys. There were very, very few guys that I actually developed that friendship as an extension of the media. And you know this, and everybody at Bass and FLW back in the day, and even at Major League Fishing, I took the approach to truly do it from a journalistic perspective. It was not about me. It was about the game, and it was about the players.
Yeah.
And I think everybody really respected that. But to develop the friendship and the relationship that you and I and Becky and everybody involved with the Ike brand, dude, it is very, very special to me. And I am truly honored that you wanted me to introduce you. Obviously, it didn't happen, but man, I can't wait to go fishing with you. I really, I'm going to have some time once the bowling season gets over, and making a trip up to Jersey is definitely in the plans, and spending some time up there. But man, it's truly special to continue our friendship, even though I'm away from the game, and continuing to be involved in greatness. And that's what you are, man.
Wow. Thank you, Mark. Well, we feel the same. We love you. And I'm speaking for Becky and I. We love you. And thank you for everything over the years. And the most important thing is just the friendship. Thank you.
Yeah. Matt, nice job, man. Thanks for doing this.
You gotta go
Matt.
pick up the kid from Honolulu now.
He is on his way, man. He is on his way. Hey, by the way, I will get that logo on there today. But dude, first tournament, right out of the gates, third place finish, could not be happier. Making some noise. And imagine that, I almost got into an argument with a parent from Louisiana Tech.
Oh, you didn't almost, you did. He had to get first time coaching, and he has to get separated from the crowd.
Wow. Mama said.
That's kind of how I roll. It's just trying to do my job. I don't.
Yeah.
It is.
Listen, this is no. I've looked at it. I've watched it. Now it's on a different level, but you are the Deion Sanders of collegiate club bowling. I mean, you are. The way you went in with the jerseys and the hats and the facilities, and you're taking recruits from other schools, and you've got a budget and a school behind you, and you kind of have that big, I only bend at the waist, stay away presence. Deion's got the club foot. your back doesn't bend. It's kind of similar.
Oh,
So good.
You've got the hype videos, the music, the jerseys, like
the gold chains.
No gold
Wait,
chains.
you had before Dion did it, didn't you get like $1 million of fake money to throw at the players?
Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
you
right
did.
here.
I know the story.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. You are the Deion Sanders of the collegiate bowling game.
I don't know, man.
And then you come hot out of the gates, overperform in the first match.
And don't you have a 4-finger ring?
No.
Listen, last night I was on Travis Manson's stream. Like I said, you're flirting with the end of your career once it's past midnight and that stream's still going. But there was a listener who said they had I think it was Tom's kid. He's like, dude, we need to look into that. Like, we're considering like some collegiate bowling. So it would be awesome if you had a BTL listeners kid. Oh, I didn't even tell you. Ike, what's your time schedule look like? Because I said 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's already horrible. I had something at 10:30, but
okay.
I'll push it back.
Yeah. If you had something at 10:30, it's 10:18 there right now.
Yeah.
You have we'll wrap it up at 5 and we'll let you go then. We'll just call it the show. And then I want to get you back on later.
Okay. Okay.
No, we'll keep everything on tape. But I was up there for that Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic. We go eat at a bowling alley. Cold front moves in. So it's rainy, 50 degrees, dark at 6:30. The Twins playoff game is on. And we walk into this bowling alley and it's Women's Bowling League.
Ooh.
In Minnesota.
Oh.
They're ordering cheese curds and pitchers of beer, all wearing their team jerseys, going, nice one, Nancy. I mean, it was the most Minnesota thing I have ever witnessed in my life.
Wow.
Ike, I forgot about that. You spending time with Kyle Troop.
I did.
That was cool too.
Amazing. I got to see what bowling was all about. It was such a cool experience. And he's a character on his own. He was, I don't know, everybody in the bowling world, I'm so glad I got to spend the day with him. He was great.
Yeah. All right, Ike, man, tell Becky I said hi. I will definitely stay in touch, and you guys let me know if you need anything, man.
You got it.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Mark.
All right.
Mark.
All right. Dude, we're like an hour into this thing. I think before we dive into something else, I think we let this stand on its own. Thank God that actually didn't happen at the Hall of Fame, or else we'd just be wrapping it up now.
I know. If Mark gave the full introduction, if it had worked out, he would have did.
I know that was the truncated version.
Yeah. Well, they would have I joked about getting the cane and being pulled off. They would have actually caned him, I think, and pulled him off the stage. But it was awesome, man. I'm glad I got to hear that this way, especially brought it full circle being on the show like this. And man, he's a good, but yeah, he's such a good dude. He's such a good friend.
He's the only reason any of this exists.
Yeah.
Now I bust my ass to keep it going. I'm not going to say that I haven't done anything, but I mean, I've also, he's done an amazing job.
Amazing job.
I'll say the cool thing at the Hall of Fame is I got to meet a lot of your posse. Because I go in for a cold one and there's always a few of the posse hanging around where the bar is.
They're all drunkards.
Man, I don't know if you realize just how proud all of your friends are from you. And if you look at it, there's guys you have but you've brought so many of your buddies along on this journey from the early days. And that's like really hard to do, because the easiest thing to do once you make it and you made it is to lose contact. And you can still be buddies with them and bros and friends, but not only have you maintained contact, you've brought them all along for the ride. And that's something, dude, you've changed so many of your friends' lives just by doing that. And I think that's something that there's a lot of people, a lot of professional anglers who are like, man, I'm so busy. And you go from there to there, and then their team partners and their club guys and the guys that they grew up with are like, he comes and visits when he comes back. But to bring him along on that ride takes a concerted effort, and is really shows how much you value personal relationships.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm so lucky to have, these friendships that I've built over the years, and to have a lot of them there. And even the ones that couldn't be there, we we honestly, like, I just sat down and I said, man, these are all the people that I love that have had impact. And our list was giant. There were a lot of them there, but there were a lot of them that couldn't be there, but they watched. And it's just, I'm so proud to have come from, just the grass from the grassroots, from the bottom, and it's never changed for me. That's the thing. When I fished around the house with these guys or club fished with these guys, they're the same guys. I'm the same guy. It's got the same meaning, whether it was a 10 boat tournament or the classic. And it's just cool to have that and get that honor and be able to recognize them as being just as important in my life as anything. So thank you to all those guys and girls who've been a part of that. It's been amazing.
If you guys want to go back and watch or listen to the 2023 Bass Fishing Hall of Fame induction ceremony, just go to the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame YouTube channel. You can just type in Bass Fishing Hall of Fame induction 2023. There it is. You can listen to all the speeches, including your speech that you gave at it. And really cool stuff. Will you come back on in the near future? Because I have a lot that I would like to actually kind of dive into. Okay. I want to dive into info in the opens.
Yeah.
And
hot topic.
I want to dive into that. I obviously want to talk about the kayak fishing. Yes. I want to talk about the beginning to your year and the end to your year and turning things around, because you've historically been one of those guys who have been up and down, but you always get back up.
Yeah.
And right now, like, just I'm using this as a personal, because right now I'm kind of I feel like I'm a little plateaued. Yeah. There's got to be something, and you've always been able to, you have to kick it back up to that next notch. I want to know if that's innate or learned. So I want to talk about that.
Okay.
You good? You good? Back in the next couple of months to come back on. All right. Like I said, I want to give a shout out to Jeffries. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to set the stage for the final Bassmaster Open of the 2023 season, taking place on the Harris Chain. I'm not there. I made a business decision, a mature decision that I'm sure Jeffries is very proud of. Hell, I would never even fish like pond fish if it was up to Jeffries. You're taking time away from the show. You know what you could be doing for the show? Instead, you're driving 30 hours, putting 300,000 miles on your truck. For what? You got nothing to show for it. I'm like, oh, yeah, fish top 10 in one. What does that pay? Nothing. Did you make the elite? No. Anyway, I'm not bitter about that at all. But thanks, Ike. Thanks for jumping on. Greatly appreciate it. And look, you're going to make your 10:30 meeting.
I'm going to make the 10:30 meeting. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And anytime, I'd love to come back on immediately. So you let me know when, and I'll be there.
Ike 2.0, the reboot of Ike, longer form interviews, one-on-one, kind of getting in your mind and what the other guys are over on the Mike Iaconelli YouTube channel.
Mike Iaconelli YouTube or IkeLive.com. Yep. Yeah, check it out. It's been really fun. I mean, I love the old show, and we're still doing them. So we got a Halloween special coming up. We did a Hall of Fame special where the old style with the whole Motley crew, but this new format's been really fun, and it's different, and it's allowed me to really dive in deeper with these guys, and not just anglers, but people in the industry, people outside the industry. It's been a lot of fun, man. I'm having a lot of fun. So I hope people like it. I hope people watch it.
Thanks, Ike.
Thanks, Matt.
See ya.
Later.
All right, the one and only Mike Iaconelli. We're going to take a break. When we come back, wrap things up for the week and look ahead to what we have coming up on BTL. It's BTL on a Tuesday. Mark Jeffries, Mike Iaconelli, October 10th. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer, so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, you just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
I'm the kind of guy that never leaves the house without a pocket knife, and Gamakatsu's come out with the EDC series of knives. EDC stands for everyday carry, so whether you're on the water or off, you can always have it with you. The best thing about it to me is that assisted open feature. With this D2 blade, you've got it right here at your fingertips, so if you can't find your scissors, you need to cut a knot, you need to cut your braid, you've always got it. Make sure you check it out. Never leave home without your Gamakatsu EDC knife.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
Shoreline Boat and RV, dock rash, storm damage, collision repair, that deep scratch or gouge from trying to access that secret creek. Shoreline Boat and RV can get your prized possession back in mint condition and looking good on the water, fast. All repairs are done in-house, so they're able to get your boat or RV back to brand new, quickly. All Shoreline's work comes with a rock-solid warranty. Find out more at ShorelineBoatandRV.com, Kansas City, Austin, and Tulsa.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top 100, Strike King.
All right, welcome back to BTL on a Tuesday. I want to give a big shout out to Mike Iaconelli for doing that. Like I said, we're going to get into a bunch of other stuff, but hell, sometimes you just got to fire it up and let it go. And when you got guys like Mark and Ike on, it was almost better than Mark just giving that speech there, because Ike was able to add to it and hear it and really respond to it. So I thoroughly enjoyed that 45-minute kind of banter and discussion back and forth, just kind of touching on some of the highlights of Ike's career and what he's meant to the industry, as he was one of Glenn Andrews, Mike Holt, and Mike Iaconelli, the three anglers inducted to the 2023 Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. And like I've said before, that event, that Hall of Fame event, which is typically held in October, is or the end of September too, is open to the public. You need to be a member of the Hall of Fame. You don't even have to. You can just buy a seat. I think it's like $100. Everybody was there. I mean, you had KVD, Davey Height, emceed by Zona or by Mercer, who actually volunteers his time for that event, for the Hall of Fame, to fly in, to be the master of ceremonies. That's how much it means to him. I think he had 19 or 20 Hall of Famers. Johnny Morris, the founder of Bass Pro Shops, gave a talk. Bill Dance. I mean, David Fritz, Rick Clunn. You start naming them, you're going to miss out. But everywhere you look, steeped in history. Plus, you're at the Wonders of Wildlife. Wow. Where the event is held. You can come in for the day, stay the night before, do the Wonders of Wildlife, do the Bass Pro Shops deal, go to the banquet, leave the next morning, and highly would recommend that even if you don't know anybody, you bring your significant other, get a couple buddies together, and go to the Wonders of Wildlife and the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame banquet next year. Yeah, we're going to touch on the Bassmaster Open here real quick. Actually, we're going to do a live stream on Wednesday night, 7:30 Central Time. Andrew Upshaw is going to jump on. I kind of booked that before I realized he did a Bass Angler Therapy with Todd last week, but whatever. He's got football practice and is going to jump on it. Neither, I think his video's out. And I won't say that. I'm not going to Harris Chain, obviously. Today is Tuesday. The tournament starts on Thursday. I was 40th in the points, but I statistically, out of the 176 it started, like, I'm pretty damn proud of that. I'm not going to lie. It's not where I want to be. The Opens is a deal where if you're not in the top 10, it's a wasted year unless you win one and you make the Bassmaster Classic. Not in the top 10 or top 9 to make the Elite Series for the next year. Mark talks about success or failure of a year. Doesn't matter if you're in the top 20%, top 30%. It's good to know that you're still competing. I actually finished 10th in one of the divisions, the Division 3 event. But in order for me to go to that Open, I would have had to drive my rig down from Oklahoma to the Harris Chain, which is well over 1,000 miles. Leave it at a listener's house, then book a flight from Orlando to Minneapolis, have someone drive 2 hours from the Mississippi River to Minneapolis to pick me up, drive back, fish the St. Jude with no tackle, no prep, and no practice. Then have someone drive me back on Monday, 2 hours to Minneapolis, drop me off, fly back to Florida, pick my boat up. Now all of Monday is shot, and then I would have been practicing today and half of tomorrow on a fishery that I'm not very familiar with. I have fished there before, but with zero chance of qualifying for the Elite Series, and then drive another 1,400 miles home while I stayed by myself, which would have been another $600 or $700. So I ate my deposit in order to basically save $4,000 and be able to go up to the Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic and enjoy my week. And then I did drive home all night so I could be in studio. But that's why. I mean, it out of the 9, I love what Bass did. I think it was a great platform. I think it was the right move. I still think it's the right move. I fully intend and plan on signing up to fish the 2024 Bassmaster Opens. It just depends on how. And then what I do next year, I'm going to play it a little. I'll talk about it with Andrew is basically what I'm trying to say, because I'm going to approach it a little bit differently as far as how long I stay in or what I try to do. There's 2 events in February or next year, which is really nice because you kind of get an idea of the direction things are going before they're actually gone. So thank for everybody for jumping on. Tomorrow we're back live. Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank just announced the Bass. I think it's called the Bass Tank Academy. Let me see. The Bass Tank Academy. I think. Let me see here. The Bass. Yep. The Bass Tank Academy. There it is. Scott has gotten a lot of positive feedback from the BTL listeners when he comes on and he does deep dives. He's I don't know how to say this. He's an electronics nerd. Like, he knows how things work behind the scenes. And it's always a struggle when I have him on to try to be like, okay, is he talking over people's head? Is he talking down wormholes? But the thing that finds out is people want to know the nitty gritty when it comes to their electronics, when it comes to installation. There's a lot of people who understand it, and he helps a lot of other people understand it. So he came out with the Bass Tank Academy because there is value in that knowledge. And we're going to talk to Scott about the Bass Tank Academy, what's been going on, how things are over at the Bass Tank tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we're back with another live show with the man Frank Scalish, simul streaming on Big Play Sports. That show's kind of cool. We actually inked a deal with Big Play Sports out of Cleveland. They have like a lot of former professional and current professional athletes who have live podcasts and shows. Bernie Kosar, for example, former Browns quarterback. But we're going to simul stream on that still here on BTL. All right. I do want to thank everybody also for that Hall of Fame, that auction. The Bass Talk Live experience went for $2,000. I just received an email a couple days ago while I was up in Minnesota about the winner of that event. So there will be a co-host here for a day. Need to get in contact with that gentleman. But thank you for all those who bid on it, who checked out the auction, the online auction for that. And I think, we've done the St. Jude. We've done the Hall of Fame. Won't be bugging for donations or auctions. I'll tell you what we got coming. Frank did we've got some custom some custom apparel coming. Some one-of-a-kind drawings that we were able to put on some T-shirts for the man Frank Scalish. But tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Time, Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank. Big shout-out to Mike Iaconelli, taking time out of his busy schedule, fresh off a kayak, a top 20 kayak on the Susquehanna. To Mark Jeffries, who obviously is busy on the recruiting trail. And to all of you for jumping on this morning and making BTL. It is what it is. Hey, like, thumbs up. I'm talking about that more and more because it helps more and more. If you're logged in, just hit the little thumbs up deal. Leave a comment, leave a like, share. Greatly appreciate it. And until then, we will see everybody tomorrow. Later.